22nd meeting.
We need roll call.
Oh, roll call.
Debbie, also Debbie is not here,
Okay.
and so Madison is gonna take her spot and do
Okay.
roll call today.
Roll call, trustee Anthony, trustee Calvin,
Here.
trustee Shattuck, trustee Thorpe,
Yes.
trustee Walker,
Here.
vice chairman Reed,
Here,
chairman Sherrill.
Here. All right, good. Okay. Minutes of, February 22nd meeting. Any discussion?
motion to approve.
Second.
Motion, second?
Second.
All right. Madison, keep going.
Trustee Calvin,
Here.
Yes, yeah, you're
Oh,
not.
I'm sorry. Yes. I was
trustee
reading.
Thorpe,
Can't do such things. Yes.
trustee Walker,
Yes.
vice chairman Reed,
Yes,
chairman Sherrill.
Yes. Okay. Financial reports, Jeff's not here. Jennifer did.
So on page 6, it shows the revenue report that we've had. February was down from previous months, but it was up from last year, so that's still trending good. And then my apologies, let me get to it. Page 14 has that breakdown that trustee Shattuck created. That would have our total fund balance available listed on there.
Jeff's report. Jeff's report starts on page 15. Or page 14, I'm sorry, Charlie.
Any questions?
No questions? Not from me. Did you have any questions, Charlie?
Well, I just wondered what all these. I'm trying to look at them. Well, 2, 4, 6. I think we did.
If what?
We paid 6 months here.
Well, it's August, September, October, November, December.
That's 6.
Right there. And then January and February are going to. Here's July, August,
We
September.
had those already paid though.
He does a continuing thing for us.
Oh, from the
Yeah,
July the 1st.
yeah, he does a continuing report.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you okay? Did Danny see it?
Yeah, I wanted to check, does that number include,
What page are you on, Charlie? Let's see what page you did. On page 14,
Yes.
the 811,936.50, is that what you were asking about, Charlie?
Is that after all of these expenses?
Is that after all of the expenses, Jan?
Yes.
Yes. And fund availability for budget at 329. That does not include the encumbered amount of the budget, though. That's what we have totally available.
Correct.
Okay. That doesn't include the encumbered funds for 2020, for 21, 22, Charlie.
Where is that number?
It's gonna be on the budget, but it's gonna be right at, let's see. Oh, budget.
The year-to-date encumbered is on page 10.
But Jeff has it on his report, that's what he's looking at, and I believe it's right at the top, isn't it?
Yes.
It's right here.
Yeah, I
The-
see that number, but it's,
The encumbered, no, it's not, Jen.
No.
It's not included.
They are
in that.
included on the breakdown reports that are on page 15 and 16. The different items that are still encumbered.
Right here, Charlie, on page 10. He's there over. This is-
how do I get to this?
How do you get to that?
Yeah,
It's gonna be the total amount of this is our budget balance. Is 410.
this is in a little different form than what it's been being, and that's what I'm trying to.
I think, isn't this normally the form that this is in?
On the
That
one on page
Jeff,
14?
Jeff.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I
Yes.
thought. He just did it as he's got everything listed on it.
Yeah, I understand that. That's all the expenses.
Yes.
Yes.
And
In 15 and 16, they're divided out by the different accounts. And 14 is kind of all of them, kind
15
of
and
all mixed
16 are
together.
Divided out by the different accounts, and that number is right at the top.
Would we like to start including encumbered amounts on like page 14?
I'd like it to be where I can always get back to this number on page 14 that's
Okay.
in the box.
Okay. I'll let him know so we can work on that for the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, next item of business is, discuss and consider approval of grants. First one, Grant Main Street.
So Main Street has applied for a grant for their pulled pork festival on June 18th. Application starts on page 17. They have everything attached. Page 25 has a breakdown of their estimated economic impact for this. This is a first event, so these are all estimated numbers for that.
This will be a first time on this one, isn't it? So it's a brand-new event.
It is a brand-new event, yes.
Have we allocated anything else to that group this year?
Well, they were included as a partner during the Christmas activities that we did, but we have not allocated grant funding to them this year, no. They have not applied for a grant in this fiscal year.
Well, as I recall, and y'all correct me if it doesn't sound right, but as I recall, I seem to be the only one talking, but as I recall, we made a motion and passed it several years ago not to give any more than $10,000 to the downtown per year.
We did, that's correct. And also the Chamber of Commerce for grants. What the reimbursement was were the things that we did at Christmas time as Discover Durant. It was actually our project. They ordered things and we paid for them, but they did not receive those monies directly.
Well,
Is that correct?
Yes, that is
Because
correct.
you did the
what are
POs
you
on that.
calling the Christmas project?
The Discover Durant Christmas project that was voted on in
October.
October. When we found out that all of the Christmas decorations had burnt in the fire.
I remember that, but
Uh-huh.
I didn't remember us taking on buying all new ones.
Well, we didn't buy all new ones. What we were trying to do was just to have something that would be some semblance of Christmas decor. There was some that was salvaged, and then there was new that was ordered. They did a lot of artwork on plywood that they intend to reuse for next year as well.
Well, are we still under the notion that we're only gonna give $10,000 total to the downtown area?
That was voted on. You specifically named the downtown area and the chamber as grant recipients, and you sealed those at $10,000.
I thought we usually give that money around October, November instead of during, March. We usually give the downtown $10,000 usually in about October, is what it is.
We have in the past, but due to the way that everything fell, we didn't. There's been a change of directors for the downtown, for the Main Street program. And they wanted to create a new event. This is a new event, and that's why they have waited until the new event was ready to roll out.
So why do we put a cap on them for $10,000? I mean, I wasn't here then, obviously, just curious.
The reason we put a cap on it is that if you don't, you can have any one of these organizations coming back 10 times a year and getting $100,000. So you have to put a cap on it somewhere along the line. And so we put the cap on it probably, I don't know, 5, 6 years, 3 or 4 years ago, to where you can come up and ask for one. Because Main Street, when we looked at it to start off with, Main Street was always having some kind of activity. You know, get $5,000, that'd be too much for that activity they want to do. So we just, the most interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, seems odd to me if it's bringing tourism and, you know, bringing foot traffic to Durant, what does it matter who we give it to, you know? Like I said, I'm just trying to understand and get a better idea of why we,
Are you talking about tourism in Bryan County, or are you talking about tourism in the Dallas-Fort Worth and Oklahoma City area?
Durant, I mean, that's what we're here for, right? So, if the downtown, or if it's, I mean, Silo Softball Booster Club, whoever's bringing tourism into town, that's who we need, I feel like we would need to support no matter, I get what you're saying, I mean, you can't have the same person come ask for $10,000 every month, I mean, I understand that.
When we first started out, with this tax, we got with Charles and Janet. And when it first started out is that we wanted to bring people outside of town to where they will come in and put, like she said and what they said, heads in beds in restaurants too. We didn't do it just for Bryan County because that's not gonna put any heads in beds. Not gonna put a bunch of people in restaurants either. So, we were looking at that way to sort of give you the definition of partially of what it is.
That's actually the definition that the people voted on. Have you had a chance to read that document that? the
Not
people
cover to
voted on?
cover, no, sir.
That would help you kind of put these in the category that you,
We'll make sure that you get a copy of that, of the ordinance and the trust vote.
Yeah, I think you sent me a copy of it.
Yes.
I have it, I just haven't read it.
Okay.
I've skimmed through it and I haven't read it.
it's
word for
got
word.
definition of the word tourism and all of that in it.
Yeah, it's to bring people from out of town here, right? So it's,
Yes, and it was set up, you know, when they first did it, and the reason that the hotel people agreed is that 5% was gonna cost us a little bit of business. Some people gripe over $1 or $2 in a motel. They'll go to a town that doesn't have the tax. And so what we were doing is putting it like that to where they would bring it into Durant to where we could make some of that up. And this is a tax on about 4 businessmen. This is not a tax on anybody else. It could have been a tax where it would have been on all the restaurants too. Then we could have brought in $2 or $3 million a year, but they decided not to do it. The hotels and restaurants could have been included, right, in this tax, but it wasn't. We could have did a lot of things if we'd had the restaurants. But it would have been harder to pass too. Nobody wants a tax.
Well, yeah, nobody wants to pay tax, right?
And Cole, I agree with you. There are a few organizations in the community that do create events, but the
Yeah, I mean,
majority,
if you're, all I'm getting at is if you're bringing tourists to town, it doesn't matter who it is or what it is, you know, if they're putting heads in beds, then limiting it to $10,000 doesn't make a lot of sense to me if it's bringing people to town. Granted, if it's not bringing anybody to town, it doesn't do any good, but
Well,
I don't know, like I said, I'm just trying to.
and I understand, but what it is, they're getting $10,000 a year, right? We also, this last year, and apparently it's gonna be ongoing, we also put in $100,000 a year to the downtown, just on these concerts in the fall.
Mhm.
That is brought about by this organization.
Correct.
Without it, they wouldn't even have those. And so now you're looking at $110,000 the downtown gets, and that's quite a bit. That's over almost less than a third of this whole budget, which I think is dang good. So we put in a lot downtown.
But I'm just asking, I'm not trying to.
Yeah, well, I
pick
understand.
fires.
Well, no, you're not picking it up. You know, you gotta understand this, and you gotta look at what the proposition was. But, you know, usually when we get a new board member, that's what they do is ask. And that's the only way you can find out.
Chairman, are we just gonna take these grants one at a time on the motion? Okay.
Okay.
I make a motion that we, grant Durant Main Street the $10,000 for their pork festival.
There what?
Pork festival, pulled pork festival.
Have a second?
I'll say.
Trustee Calhoun,
Yes.
trustee Dorr,
Yes.
trustee Walker,
Yes.
Chairman Reed, or Vice Chairman Reed,
Yes,
Chairman Sher.
Yes. All right, that passes. Next one is Durant Riding Club.
Durant Riding Club's application starts on page 45. It's for their pro rodeo that they have every year. They're gonna have it this year, June 3rd and 4th. And they have listed out their estimated economic impact, and that is listed on page 54.
I think this is a proven event, and every year it continues to grow. It's a PRCA now, which means that there are more people that are coming to actually participate in it.
My thoughts are it's probably the best event we've done. Makes the most economic impact. It's been fun outside, maybe the Mango Festival, I'm not sure how many people stay on the night.
Try to get a hotel room, I can say. It's usually packed. But it does, they impact not only the hotels, but they also impact the restaurants heavily.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
with that.
the restaurants.
And they're here for more than one night.
Walmart, all the stores they buy. You get stuff, have to go buy it.
It is. It's one of the best events. It's what this tax was made for.
Yeah.
Putting heads in the beds and putting people in restaurants, and the city of Durant's happy because they get more sales revenue.
I
Tax
make-
revenue.
I make a motion to accept the grant and fund it for the $10,000 amount.
I'll second it.
Trustee Calhoun,
Yes.
trustee Dorr,
Yes.
trustee Walker,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Reed,
Yes,
Chairman Sher.
Yes. Next one, Magnolia Festival.
Right.
Any discussion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
How many people did it bring in last year?
125,000,
How many?
125,000.
That wasn't overnighters, so.
Yeah, well, no, all of them were not overnight, but all of the hotels were filled, they were at capacity. You guys both have hotels, so I think you can testify to that.
Yeah, a lot of vendors come in.
By the number, well, a part of it is an educated guess, but the main, we have to look at those that are there on a day-to-day basis, the number of vendors, the number of entertainers that are coming through, the number of carnival sales that have been done, and that's by ticket, and then the numbers that walk through the door. More than, the numbers that walk through the door, there are guesstimation, but also the revenue of the tax sales that goes on inside of the vendor's booth. That adds a lot to the guesstimation of it. There's a formula that the tourism, Oklahoma tourism, kind of gives you to base that on. But if you have more than a one-day event, you count each one of those vendors and those people that are inside of the event, you count those for each day, because that would be like new traffic coming in each day. And those are actually the ones that stay in the hotel, that are, yeah.
And the year before, how much did the Magnolia Fest bring in?
About 80,000.
So it was a big chunk.
I'm sorry, not revenue. I thought you meant the number count that came through. And I can't tell you exactly what the revenue was for both. We combined we have to pull this one out for the grant, just for the Magnolia Festival. But we have a combination of the Magnolia Festival and then the Christmas Festival as well.
That motion's approved.
Did you already make a motion? He's already made a motion.
Okay, so there's a second. Is there a second? Can I second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all right.
Trustee Calhoun,
Yes.
trustee Thorpe,
Yes.
trustee Walker,
Yes.
vice chairman Reed,
Abstain.
chairman Sherrill.
Yes. Next up is Silo Softball Booster Club.
So the Silo Softball Booster Club, their grant application is actually a separate document. When I put the agenda packet together, I put their wrap-up report from last year in the agenda packet, so my apologies for that. I will add on the Silo Softball Booster Club, when we received their grant application, we went back and noticed that we did not receive the wrap-up report last year, 30 days after the event. So we did email them and ask them, that's how we have the wrap-up report that is included. So a reminder, the grant agreement that they signed does say that if we don't get that back within 30 days, they could be considered to not get funded the following year. And for the wrap-up report, we did show where we emailed them twice after their event to remind them that that wrap-up report is due 30 days after the event.
Never did get it.
Not until we got this grant application, and then we emailed them back to remind them that we never got it.
It's in the information you send to them to
Yes.
ask for a grant, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, I think we ought to go with that.
I'm gonna
That's
have
this
to
one.
agree with Mr. Calhoun on that. If we don't set a precedence on this, then why have rules and regulations? And I think you repeated this, but I wanna make sure. You did email them?
Yes.
Okay, after the due date on that several times.
Right. So we
Okay.
email everybody when they receive a grant. We email them. If their grant is on a weekend, it's the Monday after their event, just saying, you know, we hope your event was great. Just a reminder, we do need your wrap-up report within 30 days and attach the wrap-up report. And then if we don't have it closer to the due date, I send out another email that says, just a reminder, you are due by this date. So,
I believe one of the first times he came in, we asked him, do they eat at the restaurants? And I think some of the meals were given out at Silo, right? In the cafeteria. And I wasn't very
I don't
much
recall.
sure about all these hotel rooms either.
right. In the wrap-up report that they did send after we got this grant application, they did say that it does say that there were 2 teams that stayed in Durant hotels during the tournament. The majority of teams opted to stay at Choctaw due to they had issues getting block rates, is what the wrap-up report says.
So they had some teams, they had Choctaws.
More teams stayed there than we, probably.
I think so too.
Yeah, they
One of
didn't give
the
a specific
things-
number on that.
One of the things that I would like to encourage the authority to do, when these events are taking place, pick up the phone and call the hotels. They'll, they will give you their occupancy rate for that weekend. That way, it kind of tells us what, we are doing. Are we bringing people in? Are we putting heads in beds? And if you will call, they will let you know those things. But if you call and they're at capacity, then you know it's impacted in some way. But we try to do that as much as we possibly can on the follow-up. I have been doing that for years, simply because we're trying to keep a record of trying to know what's impacting tourists in the area, so.
Where did they come up with this amount? I don't see how they figured it out. The 6290, where'd they come up with that?
Well, I can't answer that for them.
I think they've always.
I don't put together their budget.
Yeah, I thought they always asked for 5,000 or so. So they don't buy their own concession items, we buy those too, right?
Yep, according to this.
So that's
$750
100%.
worth anyway.
So that'd be 100% profit, yeah.
True. Janet, Charles, they didn't do what they're supposed to do.
I make a motion that we do not fund this on the basis of not complying with the rules and regulations of the grant.
How many years have we funded this?
3,
I think 2, because I want to say,
That's what
Oh.
I want to say because it was like 1 year was continued because
Yes,
they were not
that's
able to
right.
have their tournament due to COVID.
no, that's right,
Yes.
that's right.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Trustee Calhoun,
Yes.
trustee Thorpe,
Yes.
trustee Walker,
Yes.
vice chairman Reed,
Yes,
chairman Sherrill.
Yes. All right.
Thank you.
Next item, year-end development, city, year-end map.
Hi, good afternoon, board. Thank you guys for having me today. Motion here is very simple. All we're requesting is to issue an RFP to have a firm come in and redo the City of Durant maps. The two main primary examples I have here for you are number one in the Bible of Durant. So it opens up right to the center of a map. We want to have this map redone. But more importantly, the larger one here that we tend to go through quite a bit more is our big full map and fold out. We need to send out an RFP. One of the things that we have run into here locally is that we don't have firms with either enough capacity right now because they're working on, as you guys see, a lot of development going around. So we need to look outside the immediate region to select a firm to do that. And as far as a cost, we're going to write the RFP very detailed for what we want. We want people to, first of all, this is not just used by tourism. These are things that will also be used to doing surveys, people that are moving to the area, businesses that are wanting to relocate here. These are very useful kind of graphics to see what is the traffic patterns like, where are the freeways at. So having a little better detail of what we've done here in Durant over the last few years kind of needs this done. So the request is just to issue an RFP, and hopefully we get enough responses back to return to the board with a decision to make for doing that action.
So how much is this gonna cost?
That's, we don't know yet. Well, we're gonna write the RFP to say exactly what we want, and then they're gonna tell us how much they're gonna do it for. So this is just to issue the RFP, no cost associated at this point.
Could I take a look at a couple of those maps?
Sure, absolutely. And I'll tell you one of the
Okay.
things too, coming from an area, I live in a pretty metropolitan area down in Fort Worth, Dallas area. When I look at maps like this and you see places like a McKinney or a Plano or a Frisco, and that's where I'm from, and I look at a map that's that condensed, I think about how much my traffic is driving across town in McKinney, which is a heck of a lot longer here. And so that's why, oops, sorry about that. That's why if we're able to sort of show these details a little bit more, we can show the ease and accessibility. Now all of a sudden coming down to Main Street off of 75 is not that big of a deal. They don't feel like they're driving all the way across an entire, town like a McKinney or a Plano. So it'll help us with marketing purposes as well in tourism.
Does it show anything about the direction to the lake?
This one actually does, because we've got the lake listed right there off to the east.
And that's, the
And
county
that's-
map is on the back, and then the
And that's
city
the
map.
goal. What we want to do is to create Durant City map on the front and then have Bryan County in the back so that we can show regional areas. So it's not just isolated to like one downtown Main Street area, but Durant as a whole. You're welcome to keep that, sir, if you like.
Now, on this one out here, really what we have is just all of downtown Durant, right?
That one is, because that
But
is
You
the,
got the Lake Texoma way on the back.
correct. That's, they paid for that ads. Well, that ad space is being for you guys. Now, the ad that we did, this was to co-align with the ad that we did for the Lake Texoma Authority, which the ad that we put in there was showing all of the Durant area attractions. We showed the cultural center, we showed downtown restaurants, families out and about doing things with a tagline of, hey, 14 miles away and this is the best fun you can have off the water. So those kind of align with that aspect. And I've got some more information on that coming up a little bit later in the agenda too.
So we'll be paying for the maps, this and the other,
Right now, I believe it would just be for the architectural rendering or however terminology, I know it's probably cartography, I think is mapping. Whatever that service would be to do the maps. Now, as far as the use thereafter, that's probably something that would be either outlined in the RFP or something we would present to the board once we're asking for a dollar amount.
Jim,
so who's,
in the past, we have been able to absorb the cost because the publisher of the publication has sold advertising. They no longer think that it's feasible to do that and provide the maps for us. And so it looks like we are going to have to pay for the map. And I think Charlie requested a map 2 or 3 months ago, that he asked about a map. And that's why what they used to do is just come and ask us, can we do the map?
they've always done that, yeah.
But we don't have that, we don't have those any longer. They say it's not feasible for them to sell it and publish it and furnish the publication to us.
And so there'll be no advertising on that?
It just depends on how we write the RFP.
I think from my aspect, as far as marketing for tourism, which is kind of what I brought on to do here, I see those things as decision makers. I really do. I think the ease and flow of traffic, and listen, I'm a road tripper. When I'm driving to a new area, I do think about traffic. I think about how long I'm going to have to get off this freeway to eat, get gas, or if I'm in an adventurous mood, where I'm going to venture off to. So having a clear map also allows us to identify more points of interest a little more clearly, so people aren't lost in that. It's the condensation. And I get why it's done, but at the same point, the further you look away, the more condensed something looks. And I don't think that's really the angle for Durant. I think accessibility is one of our biggest selling points, is that we're easy to get to, we're easy to get through, and we have a lot of good things here to enjoy. So a good map allows us to sort of highlight those things a little easier too.
I think they've been real good, in the past. But this is one of the things that is, my personal opinion, it's getting outdated. We used to have, with Best Western, we had a road map that was, it was paid by a couple of the advertisers, and it was that thick.
Yeah.
They hadn't done that for 10 years. I'll be amazed at how many people pick that up, really and truly. everybody, they hit the, your website of Durant, they're gonna find out everything. I'm just saying, this is old technology. I don't think a whole bunch of people are doing it. Maybe they are, but I'm not gonna pick up a map and look at it. And I don't know if anybody in my family and my younger kids is gonna do that either.
I think a lot of the traffic we're pulling from outside the area, a map just gives them some familiarity. It just gives them some spatial recognition of the town and the size and things like that. Other than that, I agree with you 100%. I do. You know, it's an outdated delivery of like, here's things are at. Everybody has a GPS, Google where you want to go.
It is.
But what you don't see in that aspect, if I want to go to a park and hit a restaurant and then maybe cruise through and hit a gas station on the way out of town, that spatial recognition, I can't see that from Google mapping it unless I go 3 different entries. If I see a map, I can see, oh, there's a big green space right there, and there's a big lake right here, and that's right off of a freeway. Like, that's the kind of thing I think this still does serve a purpose.
And on this one right here now, we're looking at this one too. Who gets the money off of this? Because you got a lot of advertising on that. Does this come back to our,
That I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I believe that this magazine is done between the Durant Democrat and Discover Durant. I think it's a combined, so there's some shared cost in that, but I do not know how that splits out.
Oh,
So
the
please
chamber
step
not in
into.
this?
The magazine belongs to the chamber.
that's what I thought. So they get the money from the advertising?
We get a residual from the advertising
Where does the other residual go?
to the publisher, I guess.
So how much have we been making on this per year? That the Durant and Chamber of Commerce gets a residual on it.
$2,000 is what we got this year.
Well, that's all? From all the advertising? Wow. The publisher gets money, doesn't he?
They shoulder a lot of that cost though. Paper's heavy and paper's heavy and paper's expensive.
But we don't pay anything to have that published.
I understand.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of advertising for
It's
the chamber just to get, what'd you say? $2,000?
2,596, I believe, Jim, total. And I'd have to go back and look at it.
I'd just like to know how much they make out of it.
What percent is
What?
that of the gross?
It's, there again, Charlie, we're at their mercy when they do that, because we are supposed to be getting a printout, but we have not. It is published by our local newspaper. They are the ones that put the layouts and everything together. Choctaw Print is the one that prints it.
Choctaw prints it out here? Okay.
But you have to have someone to put it together. We cannot lay those out. We are not qualified to lay out a magazine. And unless we
Yeah,
sell
the print,
advertising
I come from print
ourselves.
background. Print on that piece right there, it's a lot of cost burden on the publisher to do it.
It sure would be nicer if they got the Chamber of Commerce got $10,000 for it, at least $5,000.
I agree. If you don't know what the other dollar amount is, you don't know how much you may be benefiting or maybe
That's a
being
lot of
held back.
advertising. Big
But
time,
it's also a lot of advertising for Durant.
yeah.
Yeah. And a good one too. How many runs have you made to drop these off? These things have been going like crazy this year. So, but again, I think that was my point. My point was just to motion the RFP to see if we could, and that way we can find out what kind of costs, and that allows us to make a more informed decision on going forward. So the motion would just be
Chamber of
to,
Commerce can always ask for $5,000, right, for that publication?
I mean, we could. I think our money's better spent elsewhere, but I don't know if that's
They
something
can
we
always say
couldn't do.
yes or no.
Yeah. So, but the motion here again is to ask for an RFP to see if it is cost feasible and what we're looking at to redo maps for Durant.
And just for clarification, it's the map, not the book.
Correct.
And so we got any thought of how much this is gonna cost?
I have zero clue what that would cost.
Think it's gonna cost up to $5,000 or what?
Yeah, exactly. We're not asking for money. We're just asking to solicit an RFP to find out how much it will cost. That is all we're asking for.
And we
Does our
will-
website have a map as good as these are on it?
No. It's
No.
got the book. It's got the book, and it has the same map that the book. So,
Why can't we do that?
we could.
Well, I think we need to see what kind of results this is.
Comes back $1 million, we probably will not bring it up on the agenda again.
Probably a good idea.
We will have to ask our attorney to help us with the RFP.
That motion to vote on it?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Trustee Calhoun,
Yes.
trustee Thorpe,
Yes.
trustee Walker,
Yes.
vice chairman Reed,
Yes.
chairman Sherry.
Yes. All right. Next up is, discuss and consider approval of plans for beautification of 6975 Main Street exit corridor intersection. I think Mr. Dean is here, and Jen, if
You know, what we did, we went ahead and Danny, we met with the city manager and went over and discussed all the details of what we wanted for this. And so, our discussion on that, we wanted the 6975 to look nice. If you drive by it now, you'll see it's got trash. We gotta get this thing fixed up for the people coming into Durant. I'm sure you've seen better towns than this. And so, we're looking at taking care of that, and then giving them up to $100,000 to take care of that and do it. And I don't know the street number, but it's at Sherwin-Williams all the way out to the Walmart. It's the medium. in between.
21st
And
to
then the
University
inside corridor-
Place. It's 21st Avenue to University Place.
Okay. And then the inside coming off the,
Just for clarification, though, we have not voted on any amount at this point, correct? Okay.
we
I-
brought it up.
I just
that
want to
much.
clarify
Have
that.
we got
We
anything
discussed it.
written down, a diagram or anything for a plan?
we don't have anything hard plan, hard diagram in place.
I think if y'all are in favor of doing something like this, we would have to develop either a MOU or MOA to spell out the responsibilities of both the city and the authority, so there's
Yeah,
no
that would be
confusion.
good for
So,
this trust and the city to.
yes, sir.
Mr. Dean, and this is just a question, would it be better to do a contract labor on that, or will we just hire someone that does nothing but that? Would that make it, I guess, less cumbersome to the city?
My thought was that we would hire someone as part of the Parks Department that would specifically take care of that area. So I think that would be the easiest. Then you have some accountability, some responsibility, and we'd develop our own little sub-department to track that, so the cost would all be broken out completely for that area. So, and if it was
That
ever,
makes it even more important to have a plan
yes, sir.
that we all agree on.
Yes, sir. I mean, and we had, things that we discussed, so we do have a general idea, but I think, like I said, it would have to be spelled out in either an agreement or memorandum of understanding, so.
And our ideas was, we need it manicured, and they need some grass catchers on on the lawnmowers, because you want to pick up all the grass to make it look good. And it'd probably mowed every 10 days, and probably get up during the wintertime. Seeding it with ryegrass, you'd probably mow it between 34 and 36 times a year. But you'd have that thing set up and it's manicured. Like you said, we've even brought up, you could have a couple of flower beds or 3 or 4 flower beds in that. But just keep it manicured and clean. It just makes it look better, even with the circle coming down. If you got that in ryegrass, you can go out to the Choctaw Nation, or you can go out to Croft out here and look at that grass and look what it looks like in the wintertime. People would be impressed. They'd be impressed if they come into the motels, restaurants, or even downtown. It would probably be one of the better looking entrances to any city in the state of Oklahoma, our size of population. But that's what we're looking at, is manicuring it, keep it clean, and keeping a grass catcher on it, planting ryegrass in the wintertime, and keep it in the wintertime too. I think it'd be an excellent improvement to Durant, Oklahoma.
Are there any future plans at all to do anything with those clover leaves, to put something back in there that there were sailboats there for a long time, and those were taken down? We don't have any plans?
No, ma'am.
Okay. It'd really be nice if we could have some type of welcoming something there, coming into the city on those.
Oh, you mean
clover
during that circle?
leaves. Uh-huh.
Sure, they've already got the electricity out there.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. There is still electricity out there then? No?
I would assume.
It's got electricity. I don't think anybody pulled it up.
Yeah. That was
And,
well before I got here.
It may have water, I'm not sure.
I don't know.
But
So-
I think within this next year, if we get an artist to draw that on both sides and do that, I think that'd be excellent. It needs to be something out there to tell them about Welcome Durant, and we're not talking something that costs $10,000 either. It's gotta look nice.
Well, one thing, and we've got to look at the longevity of this and how we're going to be able to help support this in the future. Because if the city doesn't have that into their budget, they're not automatically gonna be able to put it in there every year. I would hope that we continue to grow it. But I think that it's gonna have to be a commitment on our part too, to help fund this if we decide to do it.
Yeah, I
And
think
that's
we just
just my
we gotta
opinion.
understand what that funding is though, right? Like to do an MOA, because we're saying $100,000, but it might only cost 50, right? I mean, we don't know what it's gonna take.
Well, I can tell you
To
with one
maintain
employee,
that.
with one employee, it costs more than that.
Yes, it does.
I mean, I'm just saying, we don't know what it's gonna cost without getting it all drawn out. And what it's gonna be, what are we gonna actually do? I mean, I think it needs to be done, for sure. I mean, definitely need to give the city the money, it's just, I think we have to understand exactly what it is.
So,
Can the city come up with some money, big change to do that? I mean, we're not,
To help, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean,
so,
doesn't have to be
I-
completely funded by us. I mean,
Right.
it's a direction I think the city needs to look at and put into their long-range plans and
Right.
a little more beautification than what we've had in the past.
so,
Yes, sir.
And we can do
All it
that.
takes is
Chairman?
money.
Just money.
Just money.
You
Mr.
were saying
Chairman,
something about the money a while ago. We can do it on the money, we can put it up to $100,000. I'm like him, it's gonna cost over $50,000 just on that, and then you got the ryegrass and the gasoline, all this stuff coming about, it's gonna be at least $80,000. But we can put it up to $100,000, but most of that's gonna be used. If he does it quality and he keeps it up about 36 times a year on the mowing, and all winter.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all, I
It's gonna be
just,
that much, but we can
to
put
me,
it
we
up.
need to write it out and,
Yes.
you know,
so
then
do we
we'll
move,
agree on it. so.
and your suggestion on this, do we wait until the plan, till you can actually put figures to that and bring it to us before we actually vote on it? So we will have an amount, is what I'm thinking, that we can vote on.
Well, I think you could do it, like an amount Mr. Thorpe suggested, or, up to, or, I mean, we just need direction to move forward, so.
How long would it take to get cost, John, on employee and the things that,
It wouldn't take long. So,
okay,
I mean, we'll probably have to buy some different equipment to mow the quality that, that Mr. Thorpe's talking about, so.
well, I'm for it, that's not what I'm saying, I'm just
Right.
wondering if maybe we need to wait until we get some solid figures put together, and then you come back to us, because it may be much more than what has been implied, I don't know, but,
Well, I'm just saying, if you put up to $100,000, that pretty well takes care of that. And Danny's already, we've talked about it too, and let's say it costs $75,000. We've talked about adding another entrance to, this, right? If we
Yeah,
could.
then eventually, it's something we might wanna look at then.
Yeah,
Expanded it, yeah.
yeah, I think eventually we need to look at all of our entryways the very same way, right? So, and I don't necessarily think that the tourism authority should fund all of those, but I think, we definitely need to look at all of them. So, I mean, you have multiple exits right there off of, 6975, within 3 miles, you got 3 exits, right?
exactly.
So that puts you
Well,
either
and
to
that's-
Southeastern or downtown.
That's exactly what I was thinking, do we want to stop there? Do we want to try to improve those other exits as well?
But I think
My-
the main thing
my-
we have to do is just mostly just make sure that it's manicured, that it's taken care of, and you got grass catchers on there, and you mow it between 34, 36 times a year, put the ryegrass down, and then have the stipulation that, you know, it'll be up to $100,000. You'll know by the end of the year, the first year, on what's going on. It's not gonna be
Right.
rocket scientist, it's gonna be as simple as this. And
Right.
It's not gonna,
Yeah, this is, I think this is Kickstarter to getting the ball rolling to do.
yes, we do.
That-
City, how much we spend a year on mowing grass?
It's, I know the mowing contract on just the right of way is over $130,000. So,
Plus what we-
on the highway right away.
Spartan mowing the park, that,
Right.
I mean, that's not even put on
Nope.
sports complex.
Yes, sir.
The
Yeah,
cemetery,
We spend, I bet we spend $1 million a year cutting grass.
Right. And I kind of think like you do, Mr. Sherry, that this is just like a kickstart. It's, can we make one happen and maintain it, and then we move on to the next one and the next one, and continue to grow it if it's successful. So that's my thought.
I was gonna ask our attorney, is this in the scope, do you feel that this is in the scope of the trust? No, I'm talking about the trust itself, I'm sorry.
Y'all focus an awful lot on putting heads in beds, and I don't know if making those exits necessarily does that, but it might make more people inclined to stop rather than drive on by. If there's a, you know, it looks like it's a nice, pretty going concern rather than a ghost town when you drive past the main exit of town. That probably will make more people exit, which probably does.
So maybe you need his opinion first.
Yeah, I think he'll offend everything in town.
Maybe I should ask that question.
And
It's
I'll
all,
ask
it's
you-
all regarding a plan.
Yeah, I'll ask you, you know, you're here and you're new. But would you be impressed if you had some of your friends come in and they come off the road and it looks like that?
Oh, that's,
I mean,
yeah, I mean.
aren't
we-
you happy to have them down here? But if it looks like, you know, not that much, you're not excited for them to come to
mean,
Durant.
to me, yes, absolutely. We definitely need to spend a lot of money there. And I think us helping the city getting started with it, whether it's buying a couple lawnmowers or whatever the case may be, I think it's great to get it started. I think it has to be written out before we agree to it. It's just, that's all I'm saying. I think before we just say, here's $100,000, but we don't know what you're gonna spend it on, you can't really do that. You know, you have to have something written, this is our plan, just like we did for all these other grant applications. I mean, just show me what you wanna spend the money on, and here you have it. And I think it's totally within reason for us to do, and I think it will help. But I think we gotta have a plan for it before we just hand
But
over
if you-
$100,000.
If you put that into a motion, they'll have that, up to 100,000.
Right, but we don't know what he's gonna spend it on. I know, not that I don't trust you, but
Right.
just legally on paper, we're just giving you $100,000 and not saying what you're gonna spend it on.
John, do you feel like that this is something that's sustainable, that we can continue to grow from on a year-to-year basis?
I believe so.
Okay, and that would be, if funding didn't exist from tourism, is what I'm saying. Because Charlie and Jim point out
Right.
every time that we're probably not gonna have that in tourism
Forever.
very long. That
Yeah.
our hotel rooms are gonna shut down. I hope not, but with that being said, then we could probably sustain it as we went into the future.
I think so.
Okay.
So,
I'm not really sure how to motion on this, because
I
should we just
honestly, I
table
don't know that you need a motion. I think you should probably just provide some direction
Okay,
and like have the attorney and I work together to develop an agreement maybe. So that way we can bring that back to you. That way we have a plan and he's reviewed it and knows that what we're doing is in compliance. Does that make sense?
So what you're saying, just, we can put our deals and give it to the attorney, and y'all look at it, and then come back next, month, and then we can look at it and probably pass it, and right?
Yes, sir, that's what I was thinking.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay.
Can I second? Can Shirley second?
Sure.
Yeah, I second.
Okay, trustee Calhoun,
yes.
trustee Thorpe,
Yes.
trustee Walker,
Yes.
vice chairman Reed,
Yes.
chairman Carey.
Yes.
I will keep my side of it very brief, so that Jeremy can talk about the fun stuff. The activity report is on page 102 of the packet of everything we worked on this month. We got out some more springtime downtown maps and event rack cards. We've got some more that will be going out also on April 15th of the later part of spring activities. We have began working on a co-op design for the Highway 6975 billboard for the Rodeo and Magnolia Festival to split it again this year. We've kept working on the website, adding more and more to that and more to that every day. And then the big thing is we are leaving for our first travel show in 2 years. We're going up to Rogers, Arkansas this weekend for a home and garden show up there.
And to segue over real quick on, as Jada put it so fondly.
Just real briefly, did you include the distribution list on this?
I did not. I
Can you
apologize.
email
I'll email
that?
that out to everybody.
Okay.
Yes.
Real quick on the social media marketing report here. Numbers are in front. There's a couple of things at the bottom I kind of want to focus on. The first one is,
What page are you on?
I'm on page 103, the very last, the very back. So as you look over those first numbers and people reached, engagement, likes, shares, and comments, this was just from Discover Durant's Facebook and Instagram. So normally we will include what other tourism activities are going on with other channels we may post on, like if it's something with the chamber. But I isolated this month just for Discover Durant because I wanted to illustrate one point that I saw trending that played out quite nicely. Right now, our current followers on Facebook are 1,434 people, and on Instagram is 294 people. So what that means is that over the course of this month, where we had no sponsored events, we had no collective community things that were going out that were Discover Durant, that kind of a thing like a concert series or Magnolia Festival or something like that. And even still, we reached nearly 19,000 people with a base of 1,400. So how that breaks out, to do the math here, is that roughly every day of the month last month, we had 600 people out of our 1,400 checking our channels. I can't even put into words how phenomenal that is. We have a really, really good base here. And that leads us into point 2. We need to build that base, and it's going a lot slower than I'd like it to. So, which means we need to do 2 things. Number 1, we need to pay for that privilege to start a campaign that is going to attract followers. Okay, the good news is that is very nominal. We're talking like less than $50. It's a minor ancillary kind of administrative cost, which will not cost a lot. My goal here is to see if that is working. So by next, unfortunately, I won't have this information for you because we won't have the April numbers in until our June meeting because there's the May meeting, excuse me. Till the end of May. So at the end of May, I'll be able to follow up with you and show the effectiveness of what these are looking like. So we're always 1 month behind with social media data just to make sure that we capture everything collectively whenever we come to these meetings. So
Who will do that work?
I will. Well, I mean, that will be done through management of the chamber.
The $50, what's that for?
That will, my guess will be that would most likely come out of the management fee that we are getting from the tourism board as the chamber, as the managers of the day-to-day operations and administration.
Is that what you envision?
That's what I envision.
It's really at a point, guys, I tell you, I've squeezed every ounce of juice I can out of this turnip. We are at a point now where in our social media, we're still getting good reach and good exposure here locally, which is reflected in our post engagement. People here are still paying attention. We're losing our voice outside of this area. And that's because, quite honestly, just to put it bluntly, we're not paying for it. And that's how these tech companies are able to monitor your web traffic, how often you pop up, where you pop up. So Google AdWords and Facebook are going to be the 2 areas that we look at. And there's going to be a lot of boring administrative behind-the-scenes work, which Ms. Wilcox loves to do on websites. And so that's going to help us strengthen that voice. So it's a penance. I'm sorry?
What do we have to pay them to do that?
I don't have an exact figure, but I can tell you right now, it's a drop in the bucket for the exposure we're going to get. I do not spend money foolishly, especially when it comes to marketing. But I can give you a roundabout figure. It's going to be roughly about $50 to $100. Those will be one-time campaigns Those will not be ongoing costs, recurring costs. This is not something that's gonna pop up in a line item. These are one-time costs for campaigns.
And
And that's
I
really gonna
wanted
help us
to-
that much?
I wanted to
mean,
clarify
$50 is not much.
that those would
It's how
be-
affordable it is. And
That
again,
is not a cost to the
quite honestly,
tourism
that's a little
authority.
bit of
That's
the skill
already
set that I
absorbed.
bring, is knowing how to manage that money the
fee.
best, get the best reach for your buck.
But the
But the campaigns are very, because you run them for short periods of time. They're generally on smaller amounts because you're running it for like 14 days. You're not running it for like a month or 3 months or 12 months or something like that. And again, it really is dollars to do these ad campaigns.
But
They're-
if we do this, we really need to do it about at least 5 or 6 times a year to get more bangs for your bucks, right?
you know what, I'm new, I'm a little new to this area and the data and traffic patterns here. I'd need a little bit of time to agree with that. I honestly I like to look at the data to let me tell how to move forward. So this is what the data is telling me right now that we need to do.
Yeah, I just think that one time a year is not gonna do it.
No, but here's the thing though, it'll start to grow organically. So this is what's gonna happen. And I apologize, I probably am taking up too much time with this. This is kind of in the weeds stuff with marketing, but I'd love to have a conversation and kind of go through that evolution of how we get ahead in a bed, how we get people pulling money out of their wallets to spend in our community. So, but I just don't know if this is the time or place on that. So I think that's the end of, the last thing I did want to mention on the report. Number 3, number 3 is the summer video campaign. That again, as you brought up earlier with the LTA ad about trying to bring people in from Lake Texoma, we know that's where a lot of our traffic. I work in a place downtown. I'm already seeing people from Oklahoma City that come to lake houses that are coming into town and spending money. One of the things we want to do is create a video that is going to highlight, and how we're going to do this video is part of my marketing efforts and job description at the chamber is to use new technology. So we're gonna have a drone that the chamber is gonna purchase, and one of our first projects is gonna be with Discover Durant. We have a family.
We hope. We've got to get permission for that first, but we.
Fair enough, we hope. Listen, I will buy it with my own,
We
you
have our
can put that on record.
We have our president sitting in the audience, so.
Yeah. That is the intent, is to purchase it. But the first project is going to be to shoot a video for Lake Texoma. And we're going to start with a family. We're going to do fishing. We're going to do playing on the beach with family. And we're going to do like a trail behind with a jet ski. And then as soon as they're done playing on the lake, that video is going to like smash. And that same family is going to be downtown Main Street, walking into restaurants, sitting at some of our facilities. We've got an option where we show people pulling a boat into hotel parking lots. So we want to show, like, here's this family playing on the lake all day, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're downtown in Durant having a great time. And that's going to be our summer campaign video. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Within a year or two, it's gonna really expand exponentially. Because when the Choctaw or the Chickasaws get the casino out there, then it's gonna start bringing in a lot more bass tournaments and everything like that. So once they get that hotel in and probably the casino, it'll be back like it was 10 years ago, but it'll make a big difference.
So I think it's vital for us to show what a jewel we have hidden right over here so that we kind of let them know, hey, this is the spot to come to when you're done playing on the water.
Now, on the people, and every one of y'all, I asked y'all, and maybe bring it up the next meeting, to all y'all take a look at your website and see what you think, because it throws the events to start off with. But we all need to look at that and give him some input on what we like and dislike about the website we have.
Well, and Ms. Wilcox is the young lady to direct that to. She has the keys to the castle when it comes to the website, and she does a heck of a job. We're actually getting ready to do a campaign in April for Discover Durant that is going to highlight the website. Now that we've got it built, we're starting to bring people to it.
And we also know that all the businesses that are put on there is not just Chamber of Commerce business. They're not members of the Chamber of Commerce. And this is what I like. I brought it up last meeting, and this is what I'd like to see. I think it's excellent on what they did with downtown Durant. But I'm looking at about 2 or 3 more shopping centers. And I see hardly none of those that's on that website on Chamber of Commerce, or some of them are not. You got one on 9th Street, you got one out here in front of a Choctaws, and then you got
Which business in
Northwest.
general?
And there's a lot of those businesses out there that I don't see them on that. I see more downtown businesses on there, but you got businesses all over Durant that you can put on that website.
That's true, but yeah, oh,
And we're,
Please
I
speak
mean,
to that.
yeah, we're continuing to add, like I said, we're continuing to add every day. And so, yes, our shops are, we're adding more and more to those every day. We were focused this last month a lot more on the things to do part of the website, because that we just needed to continue to build that up. We added in Lake Durant, we added in the Cultural Center, we added in, I can't even remember now, there were
all
so
the
many of them.
murals, public
All
art
the
space,
murals and all
places.
of those, and we've been working on, and we were working on adding more of the restaurants that are in Durant on the website, and so Places to Shop is next on our
Yeah,
list.
because if you're on 9th Street and on out, you got a lot of shops there that's not down on Main Street.
Correct.
We're talking about sports, anything else you have, but there's a lot of businesses that's not put on there yet, and I know y'all are going as fast as you can.
Yes.
But man, we've got a lot of shopping centers out there
And
that
with
need
the
some
website,
advertising
it
too.
is, and with the Discover Durant website, it is, if you are a business in Durant, you go on the website. It does not matter if you are a chamber member or not. On Discover Durant, if you're a business in Durant, you go on the website.
And it needs to be.
It is.
And one of the things from a marketing standpoint, Ms. Wilcox and I sit down every week, and when we go through our 5 things to do in Durant, which is published through Durant Tourism, as Mr. Scher can attest to, we were in his facility last week filming. So we try to get out of the downtown area. We're very conscientious about not just focusing on downtown, but really looking at all the parks, the recreational areas, and the things that there are for families to do here outside of that just downtown area.
I just know we're the board and we need to be looking at the website and seeing, things that we can add to this thing that, y'all have done an excellent job, but we need to take a look at that too and see what's going on and see if we can add.
I encourage it because she will do it.
That's right. Bring it to me. Bring it to me.
Everything for the Choctaws,
Choctaw Nation Tourism emailed us and let us know their big upcoming report, is their new Pathfinders will be coming out soon, so they'll be distributing those. And then just focusing more on the Cultural Center, which we just said with our report, we are also including the Cultural Center on the Discover Durant website. We have them listed under things to do as an attraction and under our arts and culture. And the Cultural Center also offers like daily classes. Some of the different ones is just learning the culture and stuff, and we have that listed on our events page as well. We list the entire week of those classes on one event on our upcoming events on our website.
Are we having any more concerts being canceled? I mean, this COVID should be pretty well over.
No.
Most of the concerts, yeah, they've not been canceled. They've gone on, so.
Are you referring to the Choctaws?
Yes.
Yes.
They are on their schedule, and it looks like that they are beginning to bring back a lot of those that were canceled during COVID as well, Jim.
So they're having approximately about 3 concerts a month, so about 3 weekends or
Yeah.
not 4.
I would say
And
that's
I
about
think,
accurate.
I think Mr. Dry might
Well,
be
he
able to
knows.
address that.
He's the main
Really
man.
don't. I put them on the website and then I forget, so.
I'm not at the casino anymore, but yes, we are having all those concerts again. They had Slipknot, which I'm not a rocker guy. Had Tucker put it on the radio for me the other day on his phone, and I was like, you couldn't even understand what they were saying, for one thing, but it was a huge concert this weekend. It's kind of what they're telling, it's out of our comfort zone, that kind of concert, but it drew a lot of new people to the casino that had never been there before. I had some friends, I didn't go to that concert, anyway, but you couldn't get in the restaurant at the casino. Of course, they live in Durant, so they were going to leave anyway, go to Whataburger or somewhere in Durant, but they went to every restaurant in Durant and that were still open, and the lines were like horrendous. Said some of the worst that they had ever seen. I don't know. I'm sure the tax revenue numbers will be great from this weekend for the restaurants, just because all the outlets out there were full, and everybody's coming to Durant to try to find something to eat. And I know that a lot of guests stayed in the hotels in Durant too. And I don't know. Listen, I don't know if y'all. Because they yield the rooms at the resort, of course, but I don't know if, like, your hotel managers call and check with our call center, which I would do, and I don't, Chief's not here, so I'll just, anyway. But it'd be, if I was you, I would have your hotel managers call the resort to see what the hotel price is, because you can do your RevPAR, your yield management on your hotels to see, because if we're charging $350 or $300 because we got a big major concert in, then if you're charging $125, $30, whatever, I don't know what you're charging on weekends, but I would yield my rates up off of what they're yielding at the casino, because I know we do that, you know, at other casinos, kind of see what their yield rates are and stuff, whether it's WinStar or other casinos or different things, and that's kind of how they yield their rates at the hotels. So.
The chain motels already do that.
Okay.
You look at La Quinta and Holiday Inn, we do that already.
Yeah,
So, you know, we're tied in with that
Yeah.
system, so.
that's smart.
Like I
Also,
said, if we didn't have the Choctaw casinos here, you'd have probably 2 or 3 motels that would be bankrupt within 6 months, because we make quite a bit of our profit on that Friday and Saturday night.
Well, I know when they call to Mr. Stewart that, you know, especially if they're booking, and they'll send people, they give all the hotel information, all the local hotels and stuff to guests, because we want them, because it benefits the tribe and it benefits the community that we live in. We know that if people call and we're booked, you know, or whatever, or the rates are too high, we want them to come into Durant and stay, because what they do, they're going to go out to the local restaurants, they're going to come out there and gamble and everything else, so it benefits everybody, the city and the tribe and
it
business
does,
owners.
and we check that, James, and there again, it's a simple call to the desk to say
is.
where you failed this weekend.
Yeah.
And as long as we have those type of concerts, honestly, it's good to have different genres of music, because we are bringing different people to our community to let them experience what we have to offer. So I wasn't for that, but I heard there was a lot of purple hair and
Honestly, I would be willing to bet, and I know it's kind of with the casino stuff, but I guarantee you probably 15 to 20% of those guests that came to that concert or stayed had probably never even set foot in that resort. And that's talking to staff and things on feedback that they were getting, that people from the Dallas, you know, Fort Worth, Houston area, wherever, that had never even been, you know, passed through 6975 through Durant, but had never even been to a concert or the casino or downtown Durant or whatever. So it's just, we know that we got to start even thinking outside the box more and do different groups and stuff. Now, I told Frank we need to get some R&B, more R&B concerts, but anyway.
I think there's one more thing, and I've been talking about this for the last 2 or 3 years, and we just hadn't tapped into it. And I don't think the Choctaws has that much either. And this place out here, about 9 months out of the year, I mean, if we put some of those, you know, AstroTurf infields, and we start having these tournaments for the 10Us and 12Us and 14Us, I mean, you know, that's gonna bring in a lot of money. We're going in about $600,000 worth of money in the minus to keep that thing up there. And if you start having those tournaments and you start charging them to come in and those concession stands, you know, you can cut on that and make that maybe one day break even. But tell me what you just got through telling me before we come in here on who you were talking to and the tournaments that was coming in. And I don't know who you was talking to, but it's an excellent deal, but go ahead.
So we had a group come in and, again, what's the gentleman's name that's running the sports complex now? Is it
Ryan Brewer. Ryan Brewer.
So I had an email, it's been a few months ago, from a company out of Dallas that they run big rugby tournaments, okay? So there's like 3 or 4 regional rugby tournaments, and they've been hosted in Durant, or in Dallas. So they wanted to come check out Durant and see if, you know, because of the resort and the town and everything. So I took them out to the sports complex, and they're like, this is a perfect place to have rugby. And even the gentleman's wife said, I wonder, you know, and I told him to contact the city, and well, I had Ryan's information at the office, so I sent it to him, but to even host a baseball, softball tournament the same weekend they do a rugby tournament. And so it looks like, you know, that's a possibility, and that's things that we could do to, you know, partnership between the tribe, you know, when we do things like that to try to push things, you know, especially to the sports complex. And I'm a big youth sports, because my kids have played travel ball, I mean, for years. And one of the things that I've been working on, I don't want to chase rabbits, but we were going to a bunch of wrestling tournaments this year. And I've never really been involved in wrestling because none of my kids wrestle, except now my youngest is wrestling. So we went to Tulsa Nationals, Oklahoma City Nationals and all that stuff at the big house, and then the Tulsa State Fair Arena or whatever that's called there. But I was thinking, man, that we have that event center that we have that stays empty year round. What a perfect place to host a wrestling tournament, because it not only, people stay at the casino, but they will come stay at the hotels and all the restaurants, because youth sports, they're always looking for the best deals. A lot of them won't stay out there at the resort because of the price and the cost of, you come downtown and go to all these restaurants and the hotels here, because most of in those big tournaments, this could be the mecca for even wrestling tournaments, just like baseball tournaments, basketball tournaments, just because of where we're located. And there was 2,500 to 3,500 wrestlers at these tournaments, and then we went to Stillwater, and there was like just a little regular wrestling tournament, like 800 entrants on a 2-day tournament. I'm thinking, we're missing the boat here, because we should be using our event center to host these wrestling tournaments, and we could have a couple big ones a year. So I've reached out to a couple of those groups that do those and told them, about the grant opportunity that they could do, because to me it's just an opportunity for even the school to raise some money for their school activities and stuff like that. So there's a big opportunity there.
And it's something that you haven't tapped on yet, but that the grandparents and the parents that come out here to these tournaments on whether it's wrestling or on baseball or softball, that 50 or 75% is going to come out to the casino and just look around, and some of them will eat out there. So it's something that you haven't tapped on, and it's surely something we hadn't tapped on, and we're losing money off of it, and we need to change it around.
I know what I spend each time we go to a travel tournament. I mean, I remember last time we went to Tulsa, it's 2 nights and food and entry fees, everything. We probably spent $600 to $700, $800 on a two, and that's all parents and grandparents and everything. So it's a $1 billion industry, youth sports are, and it's just, and to me the wrestling was like, man, that's the biggest money maker somebody could do to raise some funds, and not only that for our schools, or the athletic departments, but the city of Durant and the tribe. So.
But we thank you for coming, and maybe we can get a lot of this stuff started, and maybe we can put in some money for that too. But it sure be good. We just got a diamond out there, and we haven't been using it.
We do.
For the last 10 years.
I agree, that event center would be a good place for wrestling.
It would be, and I wish not. I mean, because we always want to host a Magnolia Festival, but honestly, I would love it, and I've talked to you. I would love eventually, first not to ever get rid of that, for one thing, because I think it just serves a great purpose for the tribe and the community. But to me, I wish we would put basketball courts in there, and just like host AAU basketball tournaments all the time, because you can still put a cover over it when you host events like the Magnolia Festival, and do indoor batting cages, 3D golf, and things like that. It's just another attraction I think that we're missing too as a tribe. So.
Well, I tell you what, I appreciate you. Well, you got a dream,
So
and I hope you get it coming true.
The group that you talked about with their tournament, they have submitted their grant application. It came in yesterday, so after this agenda, so that grant will be on next month's agenda.
So that means they're going to do it.
They're gonna, yeah.
Thank you.
An update on the Choctaw Memorial Statue. Three foods, do we have anybody?
I'll just tell you what I know. Do you have anything?
Yes.
Okay. John, do you? I think
I'm not exactly sure what this item is, so.
maybe together it's just informational.
Just informational.
What I did, I asked to put that on there because we was asking about it, and I'd seen Janie, and all of a sudden it come to 2 feather instead of 3, and I said, it's just not gonna look that nice out there. And I think I talked to Odin, but go ahead, and Odin said something about they were going to go ahead and keep those that 3 feather monument, something similar like over in the.
It will be 3 feathers. The nation has actually purchased the 3rd feather.
The Choctaw Nation purchased
Yes,
the 3rd
sir.
feather, right?
Yes, sir. When it was presented to Chief Batten, he wanted the 3rd feather, and they committed, and they purchased the 3rd feather. So
I did
so
too.
there was some change on the design a little bit,
Well, it
the-
wasn't gonna look good just sitting up there like that, and then a pole in the middle holding them up.
Yeah, the pole in the middle will have the magnolia, and it's not really supporting, it will be more like the medallion that they wear, is the concept of it. So the goal is to have it up by the 30th of April. That's the goal.
Do we have a date at all,
We do
John,
not
on
have a
Okay.
date. We rely on a multitude of outside folks to actually to put it up, right?
Yeah.
So we don't have an actual
Okay.
date. But the goal is to be up by April 30th, so.
It'll
We
be
also have some
similar-
other things that have to get moved too. A storm siren's got to get moved, and that's been contracted to be done, but we don't control that either, so.
Yeah, it'll be similar. There's one over in Ireland now. What it is the Choctaw people don't know, but we're tied into the Irish. I guess I'm half Irish anyhow. I guess that's where I got my drive, but they gave money when they went through a recession or depression, and the Ireland people appreciate it. I talked to one of the people that was over the Choctaws that was coming here and talking the first couple of years, and he seemed to think, and you probably know, that if we have this, if we give them enough advance notice, probably some of the people from Ireland would come over here and bring some of their dancers or something, maybe, and could have a grand opening out there on it. I don't know, I'm just asking you.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. We do. There is, Chief brought that up the other day. There is gonna be, a group, I think from Ireland coming pretty soon. So,
Good.
yeah.
Ours will be much bigger than theirs, so.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Peanut time capsule.
Short.
Yes, very short. Two things. The first thing, I hope you all saw your little peanuts there that I left for you. Those are what we're taking as our giveaways at Rogers, and we're going to be doing a whole campaign around coming to Magnolia Festival. We're going to have a giveaway from all the people we see. They're going to have, we've got put together a very nice package there. The two things about the time capsule, where the peanut's relevant there, is the peanut time capsule, June 16th, 23 is the unearthing date. So what we're going to do is on June 16th this year, we're going to start a year-long campaign, and that is involving two main things. Number one, who she just left, I wish she was still here, Miss Williams found a great document that had a lot of good historical resources around peanut farming and why the time capsule was buried in the first place, who it was honoring. So what we've done, or what we're doing, working phases here, we're going to have 12 different locations in the community here that all symbolize and have historical significance to the time capsule itself and the whole reason why the capsule was created. Each month we'll have a day of the month that we have about a 1-hour ceremony kind of thing right now. We will have somebody invited out that is of historical significance or is related or has information to do a small speaking thing, 8 to 10 minutes kind of a thing, which we'll be doing Facebook Live videos for all Discover Durant. So this is all going to be channeled through Discover Durant's, social media. The other thing that we're going to do at those events is that we're going to create, and just to kind of give you a concept here, this is a very rough concept. So picture the white, everything that's in white is not there. So it's kind of just like a frame, that people are going to be able to go through and take pictures of with themselves. So while we're actually out at the sites, people will be taking pictures of those things, and that's where we get our user-generated content. And that's one of the key elements we have been missing, is we get a lot of people looking, we get a lot of people reacting, we don't get a lot of people contributing. And this is just one method that we'll be able to have people contribute all throughout the year. So that should have a really nice build-up. We'll have a proclamation to kind of launch everything off, make it very official, but it's going to be a fantastic year with a lot of I'm excited about it, and I've only lived back here for less than a year, and I'm ready to crack this thing open. So it's going to be a fun year, and those are the two main elements that we've got going forward to market it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any new business?
One more thing, sorry. What Jeremy was saying earlier, that's a fantastic idea. I'm gonna tell you, because on that Facebook and Instagram and stuff, it's an inexpensive way, because we do it at the tribe. I've done it on my Facebook page before on different things, events that we're gonna do at the community center or something within the community, because you can buy these little boosts. I guess it's kind of the same thing, the boost. You're talking about the boost, and it works. So that's a fantastic idea, and I guarantee, I'm not a marketing guy, but working at the casino for years before I became council, it works, and you'll see an increase, and I would be surprised if you don't see, you know, a pretty significant increase. But, I mean, it's really inexpensive. But I'm glad you're doing that, that's awesome.
Any other new business?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Trustee Calhoun?
Yes.
Trustee Ford?
Yes.
Trustee Walker?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Reed?
Yes.